Assalamu alaikum. Peace and blessings, everyone. Thanks for waiting for me or hopping back on. I just had to go because my neighbor was helping my daughter put her bike together. She got a brand new bike today and she's really excited. And I have the best neighbors ever. And he's helping me put together my daughter's bike, and she was really excited about it. And then my neighbor had to go and eat dinner, and so she wanted me to take a look at it. And so now here I am. And I'm back on. I hope that you guys come back on and we get to finish our conversation, because I think this is a really important conversation. And I'm sorry that I had to go, but I had to take care of real stuff. And so I was talking about acceptance and healing, and what is the best way to go forward with having acceptance and healing. So, we can so many times in our mind go back into the past and live there and hypothesize and say to ourselves, should have, would have, could have, all these things, perhaps if I did this, things would have been differently. Perhaps if I did that, the outcome would have been different. How does that help you? Going back into the past, actually, you just end up reliving the past when it's over, when it's done, when it can never be brought back. There are no do-overs. There's no starting over in that same situation. That's done and it's gone in the past. And how to accept and heal in order to move forward is accepting that, hey, look, this happened and I did the best that I could with what I had and what I knew at that time. In that moment, I did the best that I could, right? And so you have to feel that whatever you did or whatever you do is enough, is good enough. So being able to stay in the present moment and not go back into the past until you're ready to say, okay, well, taking personal responsibility for my part in the end of this relationship and the end of this marriage, I will do that. And it will empower me to move forward, to learn. So with that mindset, you can learn and you can grow. And it also allows you taking ownership and responsibility of your part and not placing blame for your own self. Gives you so much personal power, because then things are in your hands, right? Because you can change and you can do something differently next time, right? Life's not over. You're not over, even thinking about it as a failure, because a lot of times people think that end of a marriage is a failure. It's a setback, and it can feel like that, but it's not. Thinking of it as part of the process, thinking of it as a learning experience, as a growing experience, because you're not designed and put here on this earth just to be married or just to be in a relationship. That's not your purpose of existence, right? That's part of it, but it's not your sole purpose. So thinking of it as a learning experience when you're ready to take personal responsibility and to say, okay, well, what were the things that I learned from this relationship? How can I grow? How can I do things differently? Totally changes the game. Hey, Omar, assalamu alaikum. Thank you for joining. I don't know if you caught my other live feed just about 20-30 minutes ago, but I had to abruptly end it and go take care of my daughter. And I'm back on now talking about acceptance, talking about healing after a divorce, talking about being able to move forward with life. Because, when we go back into the past and hypothesize or relive what happened, or if I did this differently, this could have happened. If I didn't do this, and maybe the outcome would be different. I know that I definitely went through a period of time that I did think that if only I did this, then this would have happened, right? And that causes a lot of pain because you're no longer in the present moment and you're living in a hypothesized past, which has no benefit, which only causes more pain because there's nothing you can do about it. There's no redos. You can't go back to that place and have a redo. The past is the past. It's gone and it never comes back. It's done. It's over. And when you're in a place of realizing that, getting out of that rut, that mental rut of replaying that and living in the past and being able to be in the present allows you to accept knowing that, okay, you made some mistakes, you're not perfect, you're human, and whatever you did the best you could with what you knew and the resources you had in that moment. Being able to accept that from yourself and of yourself in knowing that that's good enough allows you to say, okay, I'm not going to go back and ruminate, shoulda, woulda, coulda. This is a way to accept. This is a way to heal. And reframing how you think. A lot of times people think that divorce means failure. End of a relationship or marriage means it's a failure or it's an indicator of your worth or your value, where it can feel like that. Maybe other people's opinions are that way, and you don't have to take that on or carry that because people will have their opinions, but what's the most important opinion is what Allah thinks of us and what Allah tells us. And He does not define our value or worth based on our marital status. And that's very different than cultural norms in society and how a lot of people, one of the biggest things I found working with women and asking these questions is that they feel like a blow in their self-esteem and their self-confidence after the end of a relationship, that, it's their fault, there's something wrong with them, life feels like it's over, and that's not the case at all. That's not the case at all. And reframing the viewpoint of the end of a relationship, and as I was saying in my previous video before I ended that one, was that every relationship comes to an end. Every relationship will end. Whether through death, whether through end of a marriage, whether through, infidelity, whether through, just amicably wanting to end the relationship, it will end, life will end. And when we can accept that too, and we understand that that's not our sole purpose for being created and being here, it becomes a little bit more easier to accept and to swallow and to know that, it doesn't mean that you're a failure. It doesn't mean that, because people can give that meaning to it. You can give that meaning to it yourself too. And I remember in the initial parts of my own divorce, it felt like that for me. It felt like, okay, I'm in a situation where I am a huge mess. I am a huge failure. And being a mess is okay. Being a hot mess is okay, because sometimes that happens when you're going through growth and change and transition. It's okay to not be okay. You're still okay when you feel like you're not okay. And another thing that really helps in terms of feeling okay and acceptance and healing and going forward is not comparing yourself. There is no comparison. You can't compare yourself to any human being in any capacity. We are all human beings on this earth, and we learn from each other, we grow with each other, support each other, but no one else lives your life. No one else feels what you feel. We all live in separate realities because each of us are creating our experience minute by minute through our thoughts, right? And we don't know what other people's thoughts are. We don't know what the experience that they're creating in their mind. Hey Naman, Assalamu alaikum. Thanks for joining. Good to see you. So comparing yourself or comparing your marriage to someone else's, because it's very easy to say, okay, well, this person has, an ideal relationship or a perfect relationship, perfect house, perfect kids, perfect job, perfect body. And I remember that people said to me all the time, that people were in shock when I told them that I was divorced or they found out. They thought that we were the perfect couple. I mean, nobody ever knows what's going on in a relationship except the two people, and sometimes even the two people don't even know if they're not communicating authentically and truthfully and honestly. Like, you're living your reality in your mind, and the other person is living their reality in their mind, until you tell them explicitly, this is what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling, what I want, needs, and desires. There's no way to know someone's thoughts unless they explicitly tell you the truth, rather than telling you what they think you want to hear. Because a lot of times we get stuck in communication patterns, and a lot of times people say what they think the other person wants to hear just to people please or make that person happy, because they believe it's their job to make someone else happy. And so believing someone else's marriage or someone else's divorce, yes, it's going to be different. Everyone else is going to have a different experience, and that's okay. You get the experience that was designed for you, for what you need, for where you're at in your life. And comparing it to where someone else is at, another person is at, another marriage is at, another person's divorce is at, hurts you actually, because you can never be living that person's reality, because you're not living in their mind and their thoughts or their reality, or with their partner. So there is no comparison, and that hurts you, because it doesn't allow you to be grateful for what you already have, and looking at what someone else has and thinking that the grass is greener over there is not helpful, because it just hurts you even more, because you will never have what someone else has unless or until you're already grateful and content for where you're at. And that means even in the struggle, and that means even when times are hard or times are tough, and life isn't perfect, marriage isn't perfect, divorce isn't perfect, even if you think that you're getting divorced to someone and that's the end of it, they're the cause of all your problems, and your problems are going to go away. It doesn't work that way. There's still some type of interaction, there's still some type of communication that has to happen in order for a marriage to end. Hey Madura, thanks for joining, good to see you. So that's why comparing yourself, your life, your marriage, or your divorce to another person won't benefit you, because it won't give you anything. It won't get you anything. It'll just make you feel worse, because it'll always look like, okay, that person has something that I don't. And the only way you can feel peace or contentment is by being grateful for what you already have, even when you're going through the divorce. Because we know that Allah tells us that even with the hardships and difficulties, there's always some comfort and ease that come with it to help you get through. So maybe it is that you have a great support system, or maybe it is that you are really healthy and you're able to take care of yourself. Maybe you have a roof over your head. Maybe you have a job, you have income, you have some type of support. So there's so many things, if we look for them, it's there. And if we focus on that rather than what we don't have, or rather than what we think we should have to make us happy, if only I had this, then I would feel better. Or if only I had that, I would be more happy, right? That doesn't serve us, and it doesn't help us in any way at all. It actually just brings us down even more, because we're always living thinking that we're lacking something that we need. I'm doing good, sweetie. How are you doing? Hey Farah, thanks for joining. Thanks for hopping on. So really, those just are a few things. For those of you guys who are listening, I know some people just hopped on. What questions do you have, or what challenges do you want me to address in terms of what I just talked about? How to accept, how to heal, and to be able to move forward, right? Because even though it can feel like the end of the world, you're not defined by your marital status. And if it feels like you are, who says? Says who? So, whose standards are you going according to? Who is setting the standards for your value, your worth, your own standard, right? Are we looking to people around us, family, society, community, or are we looking to what Allah tells us? Absolutely. Healing starts with self-compassion, right? How many times do we give that out? Kindness, compassion, understanding, love to people around us. But are we giving that to ourselves first, right? Let me see. The next question is, how would you approach the daily macro changes that you have to make in your personality to keep your marriage? Would you do it? What's a successful way to think of it? I mean, that's a great question. And, the thing is that you need two whole, healthy, secure individuals to create a solid foundation. You have those two people, those two pillars that create that solid foundation, and each one has to be whole, healthy, secure in themselves, and not, you can't carry another person and they can't carry you, right? Because think about literally and physically carrying another person on your back, right? It's not possible. We can lean on each other. Hey, Sarah. Assalamu alaikum. Good to see you. We can lean on each other. We can, in times of need and for support. That's what we're there for. But each person has to be secure in themselves, independent of the other person. So, I tried to keep my marriage. I really tried. I did everything that I thought I should be doing. I did it also out of fear. I did it also out of fear, meaning I didn't do the right things in my life or make the right decisions because I didn't do it based on clarity. I did it based on fear and lack and of loss. So, we know that Allah tells us we are going to be tested with fear and with loss. And what I've learned also is whatever is your greatest fear is you will be tested on it. It's happened to me several times in my life. And so I was willing to do whatever it is, whatever I needed to do, whatever it took, that even if that meant hurting myself spiritually, hurting my soul. And I was willing to do that. And I was doing that. And that's not why I'm here. And that's not why you're here. We're not here to please other people at the expense of displeasing our Creator and of our hurting ourselves, violating ourselves, our soul, right? And at the expense of doing something that we don't really want to do. The whole point of being in a relationship is to give from a place of abundance and from a place where you're not doing it because you're expecting something back in return, like a tit for tat. I'm doing this, so you need to do this. It doesn't work that way. It's a place of free flowing love and abundance where you're giving because you want to, because you're already so full. And you're living and you're giving and you're loving and you're serving your partner in the relationship from a place of fullness and abundance. So, it hurts you to change yourself just to keep a marriage. A lot of times people say, oh, I lost myself in that relationship. Like, you forget what is important to you. What are your priorities and why? And it just becomes all about living life the way the other person wants you to. So they feel secure or they feel okay when you do what they need you to do. I mean, I don't really understand. What about pleasing your Creator and others, but displeasing yourself in the process? Our Creator does not ask us to displease ourselves. Like, give me a specific example. We're not here to people please. We can please people, meaning that we can. First of all, we can't make anyone happy. We can't make anyone sad. That only comes from within. And when we recognize and understand that, we can stop jumping through hoops and doing things that are going to compromise our values and our ethics and our morals and our beliefs just to make someone else happy, because we were not created and put on this earth to make someone else happy. So we will not be displeasing our Creator. When we're pleasing our Creator, we don't displease ourselves, because the love and connection that we have, that we are born with, that we're connected with our Creator, it comes from a place of wanting to please Allah. Now, that means that you can do anything that you want to do, as long as you are not displeasing Allah. And that means acquiring knowledge. And that means acquiring knowledge of what, living by the rules that Allah has put for us, living by the guidelines that He has put for us, right? So in that terminology, in thinking of it that way, the way we want to please our lover is the same way that we want to please our Creator. Right? And it starts with filling ourselves up with that love. I mean, love between a husband and a wife in a relationship, it comes from the Creator of love, right? And that comes from Allah. And so when you have that deep connection with Allah, then you can love and you can serve and you can give from a place of abundance that you want to do it. You want to show up that way, right? Because you're already full. You're not looking to the other person to satisfy you or to fill you in a way that you need to be filled, that only Allah can fill. I hope that kind of answers your question. If it wasn't, give me a specific example and I'll see if I'll be more clear or be more specific in what I was saying. So yeah, what was I talking about? I was talking about acceptance and healing, and to be able to move forward, right? Because life's not over when you have an end of a relationship. It's just a matter of when it happens, right? Whether it's death or whether it's divorce or whether it's, mutual, whatever it is, it's going to happen. It's going to end. We just don't know how or when. And when we accept that, that's the first part of acceptance, and really feeling okay with going through the end of a marriage and a divorce, right? Because somehow there's a difference, right? If you are, let's say your spouse, your partner, your husband dies, right? And you become a widow, there's a different type of stereotype in society for a widow than for a person who's divorced, right? It's like, okay, especially if you're the one who chose to marry the person, it's like, well, what happened? You chose this and now you are changing your mind, right? Well, things don't ever stay the same. People don't stay the same. And if that happens, for whatever the reason is, I'm not going into the reasons right now, but if that happens, it doesn't define you, your value, your worth, or it's not an indicator of your future either. Your past relationship is not an indicator of your future. Especially if you're willing to do the work of self-reflection, of healing, of growth, to take what you've learned and go forward in the next relationship. Hey Rhoda, assalamu alaikum. Thanks for joining. I hope that was clear. I hope that answered your questions. What else do you have, guys? What else can I share with you from either my own experience or any other question about, comparison? Because, even if we don't admit that we're comparing ourselves to someone else's life or someone else's marriage or divorce, even if we think that way, it affects us because we're not living in our own truth, right? We are hurting ourselves because we're getting out of the factor of gratitude. We're getting out of gratitude and contentment and going into not being grateful for what we have when we look to compare ourselves to other people, because everybody, regardless of whether you believe it or not, struggles, has hardships, has difficulties. Nobody here who is not going through a hardship or difficulty or struggle, no human being on earth. So everyone has their own, like it's custom tailored and designed into what you need, your life curriculum that Allah designs for you, what you need in order to move forward with growth, to reach your full potential. So let me know if that makes sense, if that was helpful. and what other questions you have about acceptance, about healing, about moving forward, about looking internally, not living in the past, and not comparing, and not even going back and criticizing yourself, shoulda, woulda, coulda, because that does not benefit you at all. It actually just hurts you. It like Noman said, it doesn't allow you to tap into inner compassion for yourself, and you can't move forward with that. You stay stuck. And life is always about moving forward, right? If you're not growing, you're dying, and time does not stand still. Life moves forward, time moves forward, and we have the ability and the capability to keep moving forward as human beings. So, let me know, guys. Message me, leave comments, what else you'd like to hear about, what else would be helpful in acceptance and healing and how to move forward after an end of a relationship, after going through a divorce. There's so many stigmas. There's so many things that people experience, women experience. So Madhura is saying, say you had to allow others to control you for very big as well as little things, what would you do? Well, there's no reason why anyone should be controlling you. You're a unique individual, a creation of God that's already been valued and dignified and honored and created to be a free-thinking individual that has the capability of making your own decisions. And there's no reason why, if you're conscious of it, I understand sometimes we're not conscious and we don't realize that others are controlling us. So you say you had to allow others to control you. So I was in a place where that's all I knew. Living my life with someone else controlling me because I didn't know how to trust myself. I was always doubting myself. I didn't know what it was like to trust my intuition, to trust my inner wisdom, to quiet my mind and know that my answers for myself and my life are within me. And I would always look for someone else, mainly my husband, to make all my decisions for me, littlest thing to the biggest thing. Like, I just didn't know how to do that. I didn't have the capacity, or I thought I didn't have the capacity because I just wasn't exposed to that or trained in that mindset. So I accepted that, and I realized that I'm not meant to be controlled, that I have the, ability to make decisions for myself with clarity. You can have clarity, and confusion and doubt, and your mind full of racing thoughts is also an indicator that there's just too much chatter going on up in your mind. It's time to quiet the mind and access that heart. And that doubt and fear and confusion comes from shaitan as well. So recognizing that is helpful as well. So what can you do? You can become more conscious of, hey, because you know what it feels like. I mean, I did, and I know that every human being know what it feels like. Even when we go to someone and say, hey, look, I'm struggling with this. I'm having this problem. What should I do? I used to do that. What should I do? Everyone else has the answer for me except me, right? And when someone tells you the answer, you know what it feels like to say with peace and contentment, okay, this is the right thing for me to do. I'm going to go forward with this, with that clarity, right? But you also know what it's like, okay, well, this is not going to work for me. Okay, I hear what you're saying, but it's not sitting well with me. You know when somebody tells you what to do because you ask them for advice, but it doesn't sit well with you. It doesn't feel right? That's your intuition. That is yourself. You have to be able to trust yourself. So that's what I would do, and I hope that answered your question. Learning to trust yourself, not doubting yourself, knowing that, we come up with lots of hypotheticals in our mind and then believe them. So I hope that was helpful. I hope that answered your question. And you can always message me for more, if you have more questions or more topics you want me to talk about. How to deal with divorce during pregnancy. That is a great question because there's a lot in that question. There's a lot from the religious fiqh side of it, of what your rights are. It's very important for you to seek out knowledge and information from the right people about what your rights are and what you're entitled to by your creator, and know that so you can make the right decisions for yourself. That's very important. So I would say number one is support, right? Having the right support, having the right knowledge and information, gathering that around you. So, because things are very different when you're in a state of pregnancy, right? You're in a much more vulnerable state. And Allah tells us all the guidelines and the rules for that, in what you're entitled to or what is your rights during that period. And sometimes, whether you are continuing on with the divorce, or it's a trial separation or whatever stage you're at, it's very important to know. And I'm not qualified to give out what that religious knowledge or information is. So I would say is seek out people you trust, people who can give you the right knowledge. So, and then on top of that is to take massive care of yourself, prioritizing your health, your physical health, your emotional health, your spiritual health. The two most important things are your spiritual and emotional health during that time, to really give you that strength to go on day after day, and to not just survive, but to be able to thrive with you and your child. And it's not the end of the world. Think of all the women that we've had in history, all the amazing women who went through pregnancy without the father, or who were single mothers. It's definitely difficult. It's definitely hard, and it's challenging. But remember that Allah does not put you in a situation and then abandon you and leave you to deal with it on your own. So really strengthening your spiritual health and your emotional health is really what's going to get you through this. And you're not going to be stuck in this type of situation forever. And you don't have to suffer through it alone. There are ways of getting the right support that you need. So prioritizing yourself and not thinking, I have to do this and I have to do that and take care of this. Your first priority is going to be yourself, because when you take care of yourself, you're also going to be taking care of your baby, because your baby is going to take whatever he or she needs, and it will leave you depleted. So your job is to refill and refuel yourself emotionally, physically, mentally, spiritually. And that's what I would say, how to deal with that in pregnancy. You're already in a vulnerable state, so you need a lot more self-care. And I would say that either way in divorce. Thank you guys for the hearts and the thumbs up. I appreciate that. Feeling the love. And I would say that even in the divorce, but with pregnancy even more so, you have to prioritize yourself. Everything else can wait. So when you have that type of mentality to prioritize yourself, everything else can wait. You come first, then you can really, really get through the situation. Hope that was helpful. If it wasn't, let me know. Ask me some more questions or leave it in the comments. And I'll hop on again tomorrow. Tomorrow's Thursday. I don't know if I'll be able to get on tomorrow. Have a full day, but I have to get going and go tend to my daughter. You're welcome, sweetie, and check back in with her. And I hope you guys really benefited from what I had to share. And reach out, ask me any questions, post it in the comments, and I'll be happy to share more from my experience and what I've learned, so you all can benefit from that. Anyone can benefit from that. So remember to always live intentionally, connect fully, and fulfill your destiny. Take care, guys. Assalamu alaikum. Have a great night.